in the end, whether or not I rate it an S tier, an A, B, C, D, whatever, that is based on my opinion. And so for each individual, one might be more important to other. Coach Greg, in today's video, it's all about peptides and essentially which are the worst, the stupidest ones that you could take, and which ones are safer and less stupid. And to do this, we're going to be going over Eric Janicki's video, of which I've already watched, and let me tell you, boy, do I disagree. And so you're going to see which peptides are Eric taking that I think he's an absolute moron for doing, and which, well, they kind of make sense for him. Now remember, in deciding if a peptide is S tier or F tier, it all depends on you. For example, if you're a fat, lazy piece of shit, perhaps a GLP makes sense. But if you're a racing cyclist like Coach Greg, well, that would be absolutely moronic.
S tier Retta, I am going to stand on that. And I know there's, it's very controversial, but I think as long as you don't take it at a dose that's hunger suppressant, you're not getting digestive feedback of being backed up all the time.
Eric gives Retta the S tier, the best of the best. I have to disagree. First off, Retta isn't FDA approved, and Ozempic and Tirzepatide, they actually are. Next, the dropout rate of Retta in the trials where people are actually using these products, 10%. In comparison, only 3% using, for example, Ozempic or Tirzepatide. And so it's way more risky, more side effects, more problems, pains, nausea, gastrointestinal discomfort. The list goes on and on. And so if you want to use the safer of the peptides, which are actually FDA approved, which means you can get it from a compounding pharmacy, which means you can get it from Algorex, then you got to go with Ozempic and or Tirzepatide. If you do in fact get Retta, how do you know you're actually getting Retta? It's not FDA approved. And so you're gambling with your health. Also, Retta increases chronotropy, which is how fast your heart is actually beating. And so do you really want your heart to beat 4 or 5 beats more? Think of the extra wear and tear on your heart. And so if you're just looking for a decrease in appetite, to decrease the food noise, why would you subject yourself to those potential problems? And so in my opinion, if you want to reduce your appetite, to lose some weight, you got to go with Ozempic or Tirzepatide over Retta. I'm going to get the first two an S tier, as in Ozempic and Tirzepatide S tier. Retta, it's got to be relegated to an A. And so, yes, if you are obese, you're morbidly obese, or you're struggling with the food noise in order to maintain your weight, they do have potential to help you. However, there are some negative side effects, in particular, if you're taking too high of a dose and you experience the nausea and so on. My personal experience, having coached several athletes to be taking these medications, you got to lower the doses. They want their appetite gone like that. People are in a rush to lose weight. Take the lowest dose that makes you happy, and you should barely feel it. If you can notice it tremendously, you're taking too much. And so lower the doses and please be safe.
Next, MOTS-c, and I'm taking it currently and it kills me. I did a ton of research for this video and I wanted to give it like an A grade, but just right now I have to give it a C tier.
Not to mention, if you are in fact a natural athlete, for example, you're competing in the Olympics, you're subject to drug testing, MOTS-c is banned by WADA. And so that kind of gives you an indication that maybe it does in fact work, but it is banned. And so, hey, if you're an athlete competing in the Olympics, it's clearly F tier. But if you don't give a shit about getting tested or being a natural athlete, well, perhaps for you, it's S tier. And so, as you know, these ranking systems, it depends. And so for right now, Coach Greg is giving it a C. And so in comparison to, for example, GW-501516, known as Cardarine, I do believe that MOTS-c is a safer, less potential chance for developing cancer. And so if you had to pick one or the other, go with MOTS-c. But if you're even smarter than that, you're going to be using GO2 Max. Guys, improve cardio, stamina, endurance, natural. You can use it. You're not going to fail any tests. Code Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the description.
Now let's move on to one that I do think very highly of. This is IGF-1 LR3. This is actually a downstream component of taking growth hormone or having higher levels of natural growth hormone.
Here's the thing with IGF-1 LR3. Yes, it can work. It can increase the growth of muscle cells, but it can also increase the growth of cancer cells. And so if your goal is to just get jacked, huge muscles like Eric Janicki, it perhaps is an S tier because it is going to work. It is going to help you. But if you want to live longer than last time, you're like a Coach Greg. You've finished your bodybuilding career and you're just looking to be healthy. You're not going to take this. It's not worth it. It's not worth the small amount of muscle that you're going to build, the pumps that you're going to get, which you could more easily get from taking, for example, Cialis. The pumps on Cialis is far greater than IGF-1. And it also pumps down the downstairs. Not to mention, if you do take IGF-1 LR3, you could, for example, develop diabetes or perhaps hypothyroidism. There are several problems that may develop. Basically, what it does is it unlocks your potential for disease. And so if your parents have a certain disease, there's more likely that you're going to get it. And if you take this, you may also become more likely to get it. And so, for example, I'm not taking it. I'm racing bikes. I want to get jacked. I'm into all these things and I don't take it. And so why do you think that is? Now, if it's just about the pumps, which of course it works. I used to take IGF-1 in the past. I've taken it for years. But I'm not taking it anymore. If you're trying to get pumped in the downstairs, of course you can take Cialis, which is going to be better than IGF-1. You can also get it at Algorex. But if you're simply looking for pumps in here, harder than last time. You don't need to get a peptide. You can literally just take these pills, can help your performance in the bedroom. Code Greg for your discount. And so if we're comparing the price, IGF-1 is way more expensive than Cialis. Cialis is going to have more benefit, and it's not banned by WADA. IGF-1 is clearly banned by WADA. You can't use it if you're in drug-tested sport. It has potential for danger, and so I'm going to put it at a C tier only because, yes, it does work, but at what cost? And so I can't put it in an F tier because it works. It's not like it does all bad and no good, and so gonna be fair, giving it a C.
CJC 1295 and Epitalon. The only reason I'm pairing these together in clinics, they're often prescribed together. Increase your sleep efficiency, your recovery, muscle protein synthesis, kind of like growth hormone.
Next, growth hormone secretagogues, namely CJC 1295 and Ipamorelan, combined, very often stacked together. Guys, I used to take all of these 15, 16 years ago. I did it for years. Yes, they work, but again, similar problems to the IGF-1. The problem with these products is it ramps up IGF-1 levels chronically for days. This is bad. Your body has a super physiological level of this for too long, and you can get several diseases. For example, the diabetes, and we don't want this. And so just because your IGF levels are high, it's not necessarily good. Perhaps temporarily, peaks and valleys is good, kind of like a sudden pulse of growth hormone. But if it's continuously elevated, this is not good. It's not what you want. And so you're playing Russian roulette with your health. And so for Eric Janicki, who's in his early 30s, he's an IFBB pro. For perhaps him, it's going to get a high rating. But for everybody else, for Coach Greg, who's 50, again, I'm not taking this. But remember, I am taking HRT. I gotta be straight with you. If I thought that this was a beneficial supplement for me, I would be taking it. Does that make sense? I take Cialis. I take HRT because for me, it's adding to my health. It's making me have more muscle, feel better, feel younger. And I don't believe it's shortening my time here on this earth. If I were to continue to take, for example, IGF-1, CJC 1295, Ipamorelan, I believe that my time on this planet would be less. And I like it here. I don't want to die. And so, yes, you can get these peptides. They do, in fact, work. But I can only give it a C tier because the negatives outweigh the positives. And so if you're a young person and you're an IFBB pro, you're perhaps trying to go to the Olympia like Eric, well, that can make sense for you. But for most people watching this video, I don't think it's worth it. If it's come to the point where you want to use IGF-1, CJC, the list goes on, are you even using the Turk? Like, let's be honest. You're trying to build muscle, you're trying to improve your body, and you haven't taken Turk yet? Are you one of the rare individuals out there in the world who hasn't already tried this? who aren't convinced that this is safe, healthy, and effective. And so remember, there's a money-back guarantee and a $50 gift card. Are they giving you that for peptides? Are they going to give you that when you go to the doctor and he gives you a cancer diagnosis? Doc, I want my money. Even if they gave you your money back, you got cancer, you got diabetes. Is that really good enough? And so when you get peptides, you got to do your homework. Dig deep. Deeper than last time. Is it worth it? Now remember, I made the mistake. I used the peptides in the past. Wanted an IPB Pro card, wanted to make the Olympia, wanted to do all the things. But now I'm older and I can look back with regret. I shouldn't have done it. And so before you make a decision to use a peptide, please do your research. And in the end, hey, it's on you.
If you're talking about aesthetics, fat loss, muscle building, sleep efficiency, I just don't think you're gonna feel as much of an effect as the cost that you're going to incur to take these things.
Many people speak of the benefits of the growth hormones and the growth hormone secretagogues, the MK677s, all of these things. They talk about how much it improves your sleep. No, it's not improving your sleep. It's causing you symptoms of pre-diabetes, which is making you want to sleep. There's a big difference. Getting a good quality night of sleep versus being forced to be tired all day long. I have taken MK677. It does make you hungrier. It does make you more fatigued. And it does help make your body insulin resistant.
You could easily get underground growth hormone for less than what a clinic would charge for Five-Amino. If you can do that, I'm just like, what are we doing here?
Remember, sometimes you get what you pay for. And so can you be sure that the quality is good? I've seen so many various prices for underground growth hormone, and you're thinking, well, how good is it really? Why is this one this much money and this one half price? Why does this one cost 5 times more? Oh, well, one's better than the other. They should all do what they should do, but they do not. And so if you are using underground growth hormone, be careful what you wish for. You don't know what you're actually getting. And to the same extent, if you go to an underground peptide company or some sketchy SARMs website, you don't know what you're getting. In general, people have no clue. They think, oh, I'm going to trust that person. The person you're trusting, they probably think it's real, but perhaps it isn't. And so whenever you're buying something, if it's not from a compounding pharmacy, if it isn't from Algor-X, for example, you don't know what you're getting. It might be good. It might be not good. I don't know. Do what you want to do.
I don't ever condone growth hormone beyond a level of what's reasonable, like you're getting negative biofeedback, water retention, arthritis, numbness in the hands. Right now I'm running about 6 units.
Eric is on 6 units of growth hormone each and every day, perhaps on top of many other compounds. And that is a lot more than the 1 unit of growth hormone a day that would be, in fact, therapeutic. Above that, most likely it's super physiological, and it can, in fact, take years away from your life. Not to mention, it's expensive as Turk. It costs more to run growth hormone than your entire steroid cycle combined. And the results are lackluster. Remember, I've used growth hormone, many different sources from pharmaceutical to underground, and it's very much underwhelming. You're thinking, oh, this is going to make the difference. Yeah, a couple pounds. It's not going to make the difference between you making the Olympia and you not having an IPB Pro card. It isn't that good. And so you can spend $10,000 or $20,000 a year and get a few pounds of muscle, or you can just not and live a happy life. The choice is yours.
Growth hormone, I'm gonna give this one S tier. It's got plenty of human research, as deep as collagen production, sleep efficiency, muscle protein synthesis, you name it.
I mean, if you're 4'6" and the doctor prescribes you growth hormone because you have a deficiency or you have a problem with your production of growth hormone, and he prescribes you 1 IU a day, it's probably S tier. But if you already produce enough IGF-1, you're a normal human being, using 5 or 6 IUs a day, it's not smart and it costs more than you could imagine. I mean, I have to give it a D tier because it's going to be way worse than you think it's going to be. If you're not using it right now and you're thinking, oh, if I could only get my hands on some actual growth hormone, it's not going to do what you think. It's going to be underwhelming. And so for most people, D tier. And so even people who need it, who aren't on high doses, 30% are experiencing things like edema, carpal tunnel syndrome, joint pain. It isn't good. We can't give it an S tier when it has so many various side effects. Think of it. S tier, we gave it to Ozempic and Tirzepatide. In comparison to growth hormone, imagine if the whole world started using 6 IUs of growth hormone, or if the whole world started using Ozempic or Tirzepatide. Which you think would be a better place?
And if you can do things that are low side effect and keep your blood work good, That's a gold standard. I've never had a problem with my blood work with growth hormone. I think it's a terrific compound, S tier for me.
Even if you're using growth hormone, your blood work comes back good. It doesn't mean cardiac remodeling isn't occurring. It doesn't mean it's in the future going to take years away from your life. And so if you are getting blood work and you're using growth hormone, you want to check out your BNP. And so that test is used to diagnose if your heart is failing. And so without that test, we don't actually know, is the growth hormone causing problems or is it okay?
Now let's get into GHK copper. For me, I'm gonna give this one B tier. The only reason I'm not giving it A, I just don't think we have enough research.
GHK-Cu, it's one that I'm actually taking, and so I'm gonna give it an A tier, almost an S. It can improve your hair, nails, skin, the appearance of your body. One negative is I do find it to be a slightly painful injection. It burns as it goes in. And so is it more effective through injection, through cream, topical? Does it absorb at 100%? The verdict is still not out. I think that the pros outweigh the cons. It is, in fact, potentially beneficial. It's going to be an A tier. It's not taking years off of your life. It isn't all that expensive. And so if you care about your appearance, if you got a hair transplant, if your skin is wrinkling, hey, be my guest.
You saw Jared Feather and he's been on it for a few months. This dude looks like 10 years younger. Jared, if you see this video, shout out to you. Gotten off this like a huge amount of the sauce and I've started adding GHK. I was like, dude, I'm taking GHK.
And so his friend Jared Feather, he looks much younger. He's taking this, but is it the GHK-Cu or the fact that he stopped abusing performance enhancing drugs? Sometimes when you take, for example, Test and Tren and so on, you look older. I mean, have we not looked at the Tren twins as an example or various youth? We've seen them abusing steroids. They look significantly older. And so if you don't want to age yourself, try not abusing any of these drugs. Whether it's peptides or steroids, don't take too much.
Five-Amino 1MQ. This is something I take currently in prep. I was recommended by my coach. I'm going to give this one C tier. It's early on, early stage research peptide.
And so 5-amino 1MQ, it's going to increase your body's production of NAD, which is essentially the same thing that GO2 Max is going to do at a significantly reduced price. I mean, the product most likely can work at a high level. I'm going to give it an A tier. However, very, very expensive. And when you can just get it in pill form for significantly less money, well, this is S tier. And so why would you waste your money on an injection when you can use it in a pill form that's also WADA approved? It's not going to have any negative side effects. And so it's getting an A tier, but this is an S. Code Greg, 15% off.
Okay, next we have BPC 157. You hear about it in the Wolverine stack. I think if you do pair it with TB500, this for me is about a B tier.
Gonna agree with Eric. BPC 157, TB500 for injury repair, not to be used year round when you're experiencing the injuries. For some people, it does seem to improve the rate of injury repair. It's hard to say if for certain it's that's doing it. We don't have all of the evidence. It isn't FDA approved. I'm giving it a B. I do think that it's potentially beneficial. I've personally used this in the past when I'm injured. I do think it helps. And so I have to give it a B. It's not proven enough to know, oh, for sure it's helping me. It's S tier. I'm giving it a B.
Epitalon for anti-aging. There's just like the human studies are extremely thin and inconsistent. I'm gonna give this one my first F tier.
And next, Epitalon. Now, if it does preserve the length of the telomeres, then it would be absolutely S tier plus. The problem is we don't know if it is or if it isn't. There isn't enough human research on this. I can't give it an F tier because, well, if it works, it's the best one of all time. And if it doesn't work, then it would be an F tier. So I don't know. And so I'm gonna put it as a C tier. It's somewhere in the middle.
All right, now let's move on to Tesamorelin. So unlike the ipamorelin, it has been really shown in human studies to be effective as a growth hormone secretagogue.
Tesamorelin, of all the growth hormone secretagogues, this is it. This is the one. You don't take any of the others and you take this one. It doesn't cause a chronically elevated supraphysiological levels of your IGF-1. This relies on your body's own individual feedback loop, and so this is significantly safer. I'm gonna give it an A tier, as in it's not 100% safe, but it's certainly better than the rest. And so if you are interested in something to boost your IGF-1, this would be the one that I would recommend. But remember, I'm just Coach Greg.
Real Tesamorelin, you're likely right on par with like a really high quality UGC. And I'm just gonna like always say, just go with the growth hormone. That's why it's S tier for me.
So Eric is saying, hey, if you got the money, just go with the growth hormone. I'm gonna say do the opposite, skip the growth hormone and take this. But that's my opinion.
Growth hormone that's gonna, cost you $3,000 a month. That's not the reality of the situation anymore. You can get very, very good growth hormone for $200 to $300 a month.
I don't believe, Eric, that you can get high quality growth hormone for $200 to $300 a month. Pfizer, he's saying it's going to cost about $3,000. And so I'm not sure if we're at the level yet where you can get it for 10 to 15 times less money, but perhaps Eric has better sources than last time.
AOD 9604. This is one that's meant to be another like fat burning, kind of like works in that growth hormone pathway, but it's had extremely underwhelming human results.
AOD 9604, this I've taken for essentially every bodybuilding prep of my life, except for the last one, the last competition when I was an IPB pro. And we used to call this GH frag, the fragment of the growth hormone that causes you to burn fat. And so what they did is they researched the shit out of the growth hormone, the stuff that causes a lot of problems, and they took exactly what they wanted out of it and got rid of all the bad. And so when you take this, it's just burning fat. It's not doing anything bad, the negative side effects. And so it does exactly what it's supposed to. It would be analogous to studying testosterone steroids and saying, I only want the part that builds muscle, taking that out of it and using it to build muscle with no negative side effects, nothing else, no Adam's apple, deep voice, hair growth, balding, none of that stuff. And so I easily could give this an S tier because how could they have done any better? But I'm giving it an A tier because guess what? Even though it's burning fat, it's doing what it's supposed to do, it's not going to burn as much fat as doing cardio. Why would you take it? Even though it's amazing and does what it does, if you, for example, used Ozempic and went for a walk, it's going to burn way more calories than that. And so I suppose if you have the money and if you want to burn every amount of fat humanly possible, for example, you're an Eric Janicki and you're competing as an IPB pro, well, it's probably worth it. It's probably S tier for you. But if you're just a regular person, you got 30 pounds to lose, why not just exercise? It's so much simpler. And so, yeah, the peptide works, but the exercise works better. If we're actually going to have one of these peptides as S tier plus, it's exercise. And so, yes, I take some of these peptides, but in comparison, the cardio I'm doing, the lifting weights, the eating healthy, it has way more beneficial than all of this. Now, if I had to compare HRT, testosterone, to all of these, I would say that HRT is more beneficial than all of them combined, at least for me. And so in the end, whether or not I rate it an S tier, an A, B, C, D, whatever, that is based on my opinion. And so for each individual, one might be more important to other. I would recommend you go to AlgoRx, you get your blood work taken, you can speak to their doctors, they can prescribe various medications. Do you need the GLPs? Do you need enclomiphene, Cialis? Do you need telmisartan? Do you need dutasteride? What exactly do you need? You can get it from AlgoRx from compounding pharmacies, all FDA approved. Code Greg for 10% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algo for AlgoRx. Don't forget to watch one of those two bloops. And if you're interested in being sponsored by Coach Greg, or if you would like to be coached by Coach Greg, or if you want to carry my supplements into your stores and or your gym, click the link in the description. And until next time, I am out.